Okay, so what if the key to managing diabetes isn't actually found in a pharmacy, but in the fish aisle of your grocery store? It's a pretty wild thought, right? Well, today we're going to break down the really bold claims from a video that's been making the rounds, one that says a specific type of fish could actually be more powerful than some common medications. Let's dive in and see what it's all about.
And boom, there it is. This is the core claim, the one that's got everybody talking. You see, it's not just saying, hey, fish is healthy for you. No. The video frames this as some kind of hidden secret, right? A powerful, natural solution that supposedly Big Pharma is trying to keep quiet because it would cost them billions. I mean, that's a massive accusation. So let's really dig into the evidence that the source brings to the table.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to unpack this whole hidden fish secret idea. Then, we're putting 3 specific fish in the spotlight: salmon, mackerel, and sardines. And we'll look at the specific claims for each one. And to wrap it all up, we'll get super practical with the source's own guide on how you're supposed to eat them.
So what's this big secret all about? Well, according to the source, the idea is that these fatty fish, they aren't just good for you, they're practically medicinal. The central claim is that they've got this unique cocktail of nutrients that does more than just help. It can actually control blood sugar and even help reverse insulin resistance, supposedly better than some prescription drugs.
Okay, to really get their argument, we have to talk about something called the glycemic index. Think of it like a speedometer for how fast a food raises your blood sugar. Now, the source makes a really simple point. These fish have 0 carbs. And if you have 0 carbs, you have a glycemic index of, well, 0. And from there, they draw a really powerful conclusion, and I'm quoting them here. It's impossible for them to spike your blood sugar.
All right, first up on the list is the one most of us know and love, salmon. The source really puts a halo around wild-caught salmon in particular. They present it as like the ultimate weapon in your arsenal for fighting diabetes, all because of its very special mix of nutrients.
Okay, so let's look at the stats the source lays out. You've got a good chunk of protein, right? That's great for feeling full and keeping your energy stable. But the real heroes of the story, according to this video, are the omega-3s, EPA and DHA. The claim is that these things don't just fight inflammation, they actually make your body's cells more open and receptive to insulin. So you're not just managing a symptom, you're supposedly tackling the root of the problem.
And this is where it gets really juicy, according to the source. They claim that if you eat 150 grams of salmon just 3 times a week, you could see these kinds of results. We're talking a drop in your HbA1c, that's your 3-month blood sugar average, and look at this, a whopping 58% jump in insulin sensitivity and a 28% drop in triglycerides, those fats floating around in your blood. Those are some seriously dramatic numbers.
So how do you actually make this happen? Well, the source keeps it simple with recipes just like this one. A basic lemon dill marinade, a quick pop in the oven. The whole point is that you don't need to be some fancy chef. It's designed to be dead simple, and this is key, to cook it in a way that actually protects all those good-for-you nutrients we just talked about.
And they get really specific about how you cook it too. The big recommendations? Bake it at a moderate temperature, and whatever you do, keep the skin on. They say that's where a ton of the omega-3s are stored. But just as important is what they say not to do. They warn you to stay away from frying it in vegetable oils and, this is a big one, don't overcook it. Apparently, that just torches the very healthy fats you were trying to eat in the first place.
Okay, so if salmon is the big star of the show, the source brings in our next fish, mackerel, as kind of the secret weapon. They describe it as an even more concentrated powerhouse. And the main reason? It is just jam-packed with an insane amount of omega-3s.
And yeah, the numbers they present really seem to back that up. You can just see that the EPA and DHA levels are way higher than what we saw with salmon. But it's not just about the omega-3s. The source also points to 2 other important things here, vitamin D and something called coenzyme Q10. The claim is that this CoQ10 is crucial for your cell's energy, and get this, it supposedly helps protect the exact cells in your pancreas that make insulin. Pretty cool.
Now this right here, this is the headline number the source ties to mackerel. The claim is that by eating it 4 times a week, you could see your fasting blood glucose drop by as much as 38 points. I mean, for anyone who pricks their finger every morning, you know that is a massive, potentially game-changing number.
So for mackerel, the recommended cooking method is grilling. The source suggests something really simple, just a dry spice rub with things like paprika and cumin, then a quick grill over high heat. The idea is to get that nice, delicious crust on the outside, but keep the inside nice and tender, and most importantly, protect those delicate omega-3s from too much heat.
And last but not least, we have the humble sardine. The source really champions this one as the super affordable, super accessible option for pretty much everyone. They literally call them tiny powerhouses sitting in cheap cans.
Now, what's really amazing here, according to the source, is the calcium. Because you eat the tiny little bones, they claim you're getting more calcium than you would from a glass of milk. Plus, of all 3 fish we've looked at, sardines pack the most protein. But there's always a but, right? There's a trade-off. You really have to watch that sodium content, especially if high blood pressure is something you're already dealing with.
Now with sardines, the source kind of shifts the focus a little bit over to heart health, which, as you know, is a huge concern for anyone with diabetes. The claim here is pretty incredible, that sardines can basically overhaul your entire cardiovascular system. We're talking lowering the bad cholesterol, dropping triglycerides, and even boosting the good cholesterol. And they directly link all of this to a lower risk of heart attack and stroke.
Okay, the source gives some super specific advice on what to buy when you're at the store. And the rule is simple. Look for sardines packed in either water or olive oil. Period. They explicitly say to avoid soybean oil, claiming it's inflammatory. And the #1 absolute catastrophic mistake you can make, buying the ones in tomato sauce. Apparently, it can be loaded with hidden sugar, which just completely defeats the whole purpose of eating them.
All right, so we've gone through the what and the why for each of these fish. Now, this last section is all about the how. We're going to pull together all the practical advice from the source into a simple guide so you can see how they suggest putting this all into action.
So here it is, the weekly prescription, if you will, as laid out in the source video. They give you an optimal range to shoot for to get all the benefits we've been talking about. But they also give you a maximum dose. And that maximum is there for a really important reason. It's mainly to avoid the risk of accumulating heavy metals like mercury, which can happen if you eat too much fish.
Okay, now this next part is incredibly important, so please listen closely. The source doesn't just sing the praises of these fish. It also lays out a very clear list of warnings and potential risks that you absolutely have to know about.
Yeah, the source is really clear that this is not a one-size-fits-all plan. For starters, there's that mercury concern, which is a big deal, especially for pregnant women. Then you've got the fact that high doses of omega-3s can interact with blood thinners and actually increase your risk of bleeding. If you suffer from gout, watch out. The purines and mackerel in sardines might trigger an attack. For anyone with kidney problems, all that protein could put extra stress on them. And on top of all that, they mention possible histamine reactions to mackerel and, of course, the high sodium in canned sardines if you're watching your blood pressure. It's a long list, and every single point is crucial.
And so, that brings us back to that really provocative question that's at the very heart of the source material we just walked through. It really challenges all of us, doesn't it? It asks us to think about our food, not just as, fuel or something to enjoy, but as a lead actor in our own health story. So I'll leave you with the same question. Could your next meal actually be more powerful than your medicine?